tent given the change in weather conditions. And finally, the last few weeks that you have as chair of the Agriculture Council Minister, maybe this is an issue you should table and try and look at in the context of you still have to agree the budget in terms of the new CAP budget. Is there headings, not just here in Ireland, but in other countries that are subject to climate change and subject to severe climate change, that some sort of provision will be put in place, a little bit more flexibility that's in the current Solidarity Fund to assist Ireland, but also countries in the southern part of Europe who probably have to deal with other parts of this climate crisis in the next few years. I think the amendment says about a delayed spring, elevating the issue to a more serious. The difficulty, Minister, was a delayed reaction. What we have now is suffice, but if it had happened a lot earlier, then the problem would not have been as serious as it ended up being.
Thank you. Deputy Doyle, 5 minutes, Deputy.
Thank you, Count Corlett. I just welcome the opportunity to speak on this and also to wish Deputy McEntee well. It's only appropriate that she would speak on a matter close to her and her family's hearts in agriculture. I'd like to welcome the fact that there has been some productive contributions from all sides, including the Fianna Fáil who moved the motion, particularly the contribution by Billy Kelleher, TD. I think it makes for some solid and sound proposals that should be taken on board. I just say the simple, politically popular thing to do would be establish a fund, announce it for 10 million, set up a special unit and take forever to administer, and half the money or more wouldn't be used. Unfortunately, that's what would have happened, and the animals that needed the fodder would still not have got the fodder. So a sensible, cost-effective method of ensuring that fodder became available and was directed to the animals that needed it was to set up and didn't distort the price of the fodder itself, was to establish a travel subsidy scheme and bring it together the people who are linked most closely with the farmers and who knew on the ground where the where the farmers and where the animal feed was needed. So the Minister, through his department and the co-ops, were able to identify where it was needed, how to source it. The co-ops had the wherewithal to source the product, the hay and the haylage and the maize, get it into the country because they have the ability to do that, and then make sure that it was distributed and claim a subsidy. So the fodder itself wasn't inflated in price. And it's been mentioned that already we see, unfortunately, and this is an unfortunate consequence, it's very hard to interfere with, we've already seen a rush for grass to provide enough of feed for next winter. Could I just say, when you farm in a valley that's 700 feet above sea level, not 50 kilometres from here, there's a saying that you should have hay till the 10th of May. So this year, I sent fodder down to Mallow, to some of the most productive parts of the country, and that's the places that have got caught the most, because we have stretched our ability without having a safety net, and there's a lesson to be learned from that. And Teagasc have pushed production efficiency based on a model that needs to be looked at. And what Deputy Kelleher said about the nitrates is more importantly, has more important resonance. If we can look at non-traditional ways of using land to provide fodder, and that is brassica crops, kale, rape, stubble turnips, whatever, to keep cattle in particular out for longer, provide them with feed, and we do need a rub of the green with regard to the weather. There's no point. In 1984, I remember them saying, this is the third good summer in a row, we're going to have good summers, this is the change forever. In 1985, we had harvest that were decimated. In 1986, we had Hurricane Charlie, we were wiped out. May of 1986, there wasn't a blade of grass until the end of May, because the northeast wind cut every blade of grass on the east coast out of it. I was at it. I know how much it cost me. As one man said, it cost him 8 bullocks and a horse to actually pay for his winter nuts. So that's 26, 27 years ago. So this isn't new. This happens. So what we have to do is learn to provide. And I think I do take on board what Deputy Cleary said about maybe we should get Teagasc into the committee and say, how are you going to plan to advise people to provide enough? and a little bit extra. And maybe the nitrates do need to be looked at. Maybe they do. Maybe the closing date for the spreading of nitrogen and spreading of dung and slurry may need to be looked at, and we need to be very quick to react to that. And I do think the fact that there was an emergency fund in place, there's still no need for any animal in this country not to be fed. There's a fund there for hardship cases that goes beyond the 1 million transport subsidy scheme, which is there in the main. I think people have said about a special unit to deal with the banks. The banks will answer, with all due respect to the most senior officials in any government department, the banks will answer to the government, to the minister. The minister of the day is elected and appointed to do their job, and they are responsible. And there's no point in trying to divest down responsibility to somebody else. The buck stops with the minister. And I'd like to compliment the minister on the fact that he has actually taken a hands-on approach to this. And I think we do need to learn. I'll just make one point. And Reps 4 has paid out nearly all of its money, all bar a couple of hundred farmers, 166 million. I would urge those people not to rush to the auctioneers and compete with one another for grass that's going to be too dear next year. We have to learn that lesson. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Michael Moynihan.
Good morning, Sean Corler. And I welcome the opportunity of contributing to the debate, which I believe is probably